Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Colosseum Season 8. All right, off to a great start there, aren't we? So the Colosseum Season 8. We're here with another season in Colo. We were here last season, which was our first season in the league. I recorded my draft announcement. I recorded week 1 battle, and I didn't record the rest of the season. So I think a good thing to go over is how my season went. Uh, Week 2, I lost to a crit. Week 3, I lost just a good close game. Week 4, I lost to a player that was better than me. Week 5, I lose to a player that's better than me. Week 6, I lose to a player that's better than me. Week 7, I actually win a game for once. Week 8, I also win a game. And then Week 9, I'm not taking it too seriously. Just end up playing super late and then just losing the game. I still blame my whole season on that one crit. It's actually, if I won that game, and I could have taken my last game seriously, because it was against somebody who was out of playoffs as well, so I actually had a chance. So we didn't make playoffs. So we did not make playoffs. We are still participating in the Arbelas division of the league, which is the bottom division. But though we are the worst division in terms of skill, we are the best division in literally every other way. So my draft spot, I believe I was 6th overall, which is honestly pretty good because I'm gonna get something good for sure. Some stuff I was eyeing was like I was kind of eyeing Mega Diancie because I was like, okay, I Blastoise Mega Diancie won a championship with it, so like why not use it again? There's another Mega that there was like some other stuff that was there as well, but I was like Mega Diancie is the primary thing I'm eyeing because I think that can make it to me, and I think I can genuinely make a good draft around that. Went 1st overall, so that was interesting in a league that doesn't allow Earth to do a single strike and allows pull with no pursuit. I don't understand why you don't pick pull at 1st overall. Truly, I do not. Pull is based, but it's good. And unfortunately, it's good. So pretty much, like I said, no pursuit because it's just no cut moves as a whole. So pretty much, I need to find something else to get. And once it was the guy before my pick, I saw 2 mons that were still there that I wanted to use. Mew and Mega Mawile. I've never used Mew before, and I do want to use it, so I was definitely looking at that. And I had used Mega Mawile, but I didn't build a good team around it, and greatly suffered with using it because of that. Another Mega that was on the board was Mega Gallade, which I love Mega Gallade. That is my second favorite Mega to use. I actually recently just won a championship with it, so that was like the primary reason why I kind of didn't want it again, because like I'm in finals in the league with it, because at the time I was still prepping for the finals match. So I'm in finals with it, so I maybe give it a bit of a rest and then try out some other psychic types, because there were some other psychic types that I wanted to try out. So I wanted to try out those and give Mega Gallade a rest, because I've already given it a shot, I've already used it, and I've already loved them on. And Mew is one of those psychics, but so I'm like, okay, I don't know which one I'm gonna pick. Like I want to use both of them, so I have no clue which one I'm gonna pick when it gets to me. But the person picks Mew, which makes my decision a hell of a lot easier. And I didn't put a transition. I'm off to such a great start, aren't I? Mega Mawile is our first pick here. So I don't think Mega Mawile needs an introduction. I think everybody who's played competitive Pokemon should know what Mega Mawile is. So 105 attack, doesn't look that great. DT huge power. Just see the fact that its attack stat is effectively doubled, and people always say like, oh, it has a base 210 attack stat. But that's actually not true. Mega Mawile, pairs huge power and pure power, they double your stat, not the base stat. They double the stat after EVs, IVs, natures, all of it taken into calculation. It doubles that. So Mega Mawile could legitimately has a higher attack stat than 210, a higher base than 210, pretty much. I forgot what the base is for it, but it's higher than 210, I think, is what it was. So it's honestly just an insane mon. It does have its major flaw, which is that its stab is play rough. I call it misplay for a reason. But just like play rough Ironhead, even the fact that this thing clicks knockoff and things just drop to it. You got your Sucker Mind games, you just got the fact that this thing can just click SD, just end the game right there. You got your Sub Mega Mawile, which is honestly a pretty underrated set to run for Mega Mawile. You just got a lot of options. Like the biggest thing I'm not a fan with Mega Mawile is its speed stat is 50, so it's not a very fast mon, and it's kind of hard to bring Mega Mawile straight in my opinion, just because a regular Mawile is not a great Pokemon. it's mostly gonna die to a special hit if you switch it on special hits. So you can only switch it on physical hits. You're never going to switch it on a special hit because you're just gonna lose your Mawile just like that. Trust me, I've done that before, and I lost my Mawile on a switch-in on a resisted hit. It should have lived. It was crazy. It was a Goth Tail. It was a Goth Tail. It should have lived that. But like it just has a lot that it could do. It can also function like in Trick Room, which spoiler alert, we didn't really draft Trick Room with this team because somebody had sniped my Porygon too. But it just has a lot of options, and it has a lot of options for a moveset. Just because its coverage is honestly not that bad, but you do still have like a base that you're gonna be running every week. Like you're running knockoff, you're running player up, and then like from there you can kind of just choose what you want to run after that. It's just a fun mon, a good mon, and I feel like it can. Even though I didn't do good with it when I had it, I still got a lot of kills with it because it's a Mega Mawile. It's very. You have to actually be trying to not get killed if you want to get killed with this thing, because it's genuinely a monster. So pretty much. For my next pick, that's way bit for my next pick. This draft was slow. The first few rounds were very slow. It started to pick up more towards the end of the draft, but we were pretty much on a rate of picking only one Pokemon a day. Like, everybody really only got one pick a day, which kind of sucks because, you know, don't like when drafts go too slow. So it was pretty interesting for that, but I had already known what I wanted. Pretty much with Mega Mawile, like the basic partners, like the basic partners for it are Slowbro, Latios, and Victini. Like those are like just really good partners for it. All three went before my turn, but I genuinely wasn't too upset about it because there was a Psychic type that I wanted instead of that. Psychic type I wanted to use for a while, and I figured it'll work well with Mega Mawile for the fact that Mega Mawile destroys Dark types for this thing and kind of kind of opens up holes for this, just to absolutely tear through teams. And that is going to be Necrozma. I've wanted to use Necrozma for a very long time. I've seen it put in an immense amount of work before, and I genuinely know this one is capable of some absolutely amazing things. It's pure Psychic type, which is honestly not awful for it, because Prism Armor does help it take less from super effective attacks, which is one of the reasons why it's such a prime weakness policy user, because it can usually take an attack because it's naturally bulky enough, as well with its ability combined, allow it to be able to run that item a lot. Necrozma, is kind of, I think a good way to describe Necrozma is we have Mew at home, because Necrozma's thing is that it has a lot of versatility, especially this gen. Getting Dragon Dance is probably one of the best things it's gotten, because its signature move Photon Geyser actually hits on the physical side if you have higher physical attacks, so you don't have to run some like Psychic Fangs. You can run Photon Geyser. Just I'm literally gonna write it on a sticky note and stick it on my screen to change it to a physical move in the calc, because the calc doesn't do it for you. It's automatically special in the calc. But then it's got like, you got your defensive Stealth Rock sets, because this thing does get Stealth Rock, it does get Morning Sun. You have your Calm Mind sets, you got your Cosmic Power sets, you got your Autotomized Weakness Policy sets. You just have a lot of versatility that you can run with this thing. Just a lot of different sets you can try to run with it. And I kind of want to see how creative I can get with this thing, because honestly, of course, if there's just a good set to run, I'm gonna run that set. But I think that there's some really good versatility with this one. I think that its biggest thing, one of my biggest gripes is probably that it doesn't get pivoting. I do kind of wish it got teleport, because it probably should. But I still think that it's a good mon, nonetheless, and I think that it's gonna help with Mega Mawile as well, because Mega Mawile is not a real Fairy or Steel type. One of the big things that's a Fairy type that does not resist fighting, so defensive Necrozma sets kind of help to become another check to certain fighting types, like Cough, Mega Medi, Cough. Now for my third pick, I'm trying to remember. As you guys can see, I'm clearly very organized with what I do. Now I remember, okay. So pretty much, Mega Mawile and Necrozma is like a pretty decent offensive core right there, but there's one thing that you can very clearly see this combo does not like to deal with, and that is Steel types. Like, Mega Mawile has Sub Punch and like Fire Fang and that stuff. Like, Necrozma gets Earthquake and Heat Wave, but it's just like, I don't want to be relying on their non-stab moves to break such a prominent defensive typing. I'd rather have something that can break that a lot better. And for that, we are going to be getting the bunny itself, Miss Racist. I'm literally, look at my team. I'm asking to miss. I'm using Mega Mawile and Cinderace. I am literally asking to miss. I will lose 2 or 3 games in the season because this thing misses a Powerball. I'm already calling it. My friends have already called it that this is what's gonna happen. But the reason why I got it primarily was for the speed tier of 119 because it's not a fantastic speed tier, but at least it gives me something above 115, which honestly is I usually like to cap above 110, and I didn't want to have to worry about trying to get him on above 110. So I just figured Cinderace kind of just fits here because it gives me that. Like yeah, Infernape is probably better for this team, but I just figured like Cinderace gives me a Steel Killer, gives me a pivot, which I finally can get one of those, a good fast defensive pivot at that. It gives me like some kind of like weird hazard removal tech because Court Change does in fact exist. It gives me just a hard hitter in general because I have Mega Mawile already, but now I have like a good like choice band user because like Bandit's nice. Honestly, I think is one of the most slept on sets in this thing because it's honestly insane. We're not running AV on this thing every week. It's probably like Boost's probably just its best item as a whole, but when you get the choice band Cinderace matchup, you get the choice band Cinderace matchup, and it's actually a really good mod. Gunshot's super good for being able to take care of fairy types and being able to take care of just like yeah, probably like fairy types in general, like that one Primarina, like the person who just draft, like so if somebody only drafts Primarinas or Bulky Water, you have a great way to check that right there. You have a great way to hit hard with U-turns and just kind of just pivot around the whole team and just slowly bait mons in, slowly be able to kill those steel types, opening the holes for Mega Mawile and Necro to kind of just feast on a whole team. So heading into my next pick, at this point, like I'm looking like I have a bit of a ground weakness in this team. Like, Necro can take ground hits, but it doesn't resist it, and then Cinderace and Mega Mawile are both weak to ground. And Mega Mawile can maybe live in Earthquake, but it's not living any Earth powers, and Cinderace is Cinderace. It's just not living a hit in general. Cinderace is, so pretty much, I need an immunity for that. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, well, I need immunity or I need to resist. I'm looking at Zarude, and I'm like, okay, Zarude kind of fits here because it gives me a decent speed tier before Cinderace at 105. Gives me another pivot, gives me just some more some recovery. It's some defensive mons. It gives me ground resist. Gives me just a dark type, which honestly I tend to kind of not like to draft good dark types. So maybe getting a good one would be good for me for once. But in a call with my friends, and then like this gets brought up that something else is still on the board that really fits well with this team, and actually it made it to me, and that's gonna be a very popular partner for Mega Mawile, and that is gonna be Hydreigon. The Hydreigon is honestly a very interesting mod as a whole because I just used it for the first time in a tournament recently, and it was honestly just a very fun mod to use. It's a good pivot. It gives me another speed tier higher up because I went from Cinderace to Necro. So now I get Hydreigon kind of in between that, which doesn't perfectly fill up that gap, but it gives me the challenge base 100, which is really good for it. It hits pretty hard with one base 175 special attack. Just Specs Hydra, Life Orb Hydra. It does get Nasty Plot. It does get Defog and it does get Roost. So honestly, I feel like Hydra has a lot more like defensive utility than people give it credit for. Like I feel like the biggest thing that currently Hydra doesn't really like on my team is that my two types that resist Fairy aren't really fairy resist. I wouldn't really call Mega Mawile a fairy resist because it's just it's not always able to switch into fairy moves. And if it's like a Sylveon Mystical Fire, just good night. And Cinderace is Cinderace. I'm not running AV on that thing every week just to tank one fairy hit. But it's got that defensive utility in like Roost sets and Defog, which finally gives me some actual like decent removal on this team because I don't really think Cinderace is the greatest removal in the world. It's not awful removal, but honestly I could do a lot better, and I feel like Hydro is pretty much what I needed. It's just really good special attack here, which is also good for my team because Necro's mixed and then Hydra's like primarily special, so that gives me something to work with in that area because I already had Mega Maw and Cinderace, which are really good physical attackers. So I feel like just yeah, Hydra's still mixed because it does have base 105 attack and does have D-Dance, but it's coming special most weeks just because of the higher base power and just the fact that Draco Meteor exists is just the bigger thing that I feel like Hydra likes. But overall, I really like this pick. I think that it was just a good pickup for my team as a whole. It fit really well here, and I'm really glad that it made it to me because this is a very good pickup for the team. Just good with Mega Mawile, just fits with the whole team. I like it. I do like Hydra's mon. Now, on to my fifth pick. I may have reached a bit for this mon, but honestly, like, I've seen this thing get sniped so many times that I'm just like, okay, it's probably a good idea that I pick it up a little bit early. Just because I need a slow pivot, I need removal desperately on this team. Because Hydra is good removal, but it's not amazing removal because it's not gonna be bring removal every week. While there's these Pokemon that can pretty much almost always bring removal, and at least with the way I utilize this Pokemon, it's kind of always gonna be bring removal, and that is Blastoise. Now Blastoise is a really good slow pivot. It's a really good removal, and it gives me bulky water, which is something that I feel like the team kind of needed. I actually do really like Blastoise, like just as a bulky water. I feel like it's honestly pretty underrated as one because it is pretty bulky. Like its bulk isn't fantastic, especially when you compare it to like other stuff in the tier like Manaphy, Jellicent, Vaporeon, Swampert, like just bulkier mons than Blastoise. But honestly, I feel like the utility that it brings with being it's kind of a unique mon, the fact that it brings removal, a slow pivot, and a bulky water all in one. And I think like the only other like quote unquote mon that can do that is like Pelipper or something. Like it's overall just a very good pick like as a whole, just because I feel like the slow momentum is really good for this team because it allows me to bring in Cinderace for free, allows me to bring in Necro, allows me to bring in my Hydra, allows me to bring in Mega Mawile, and honestly, the more ways I have to bring in Mega Mawile, honestly, I feel like that's this team will just succeed more and more for every single one of those ways because just Mega Mawile once it's in can just absolutely destroy things. So just helping to get it in is really damn good. So that's why I'm very happy with the Blastoise pickup, and honestly. It's slowly becoming one of my favorite bulky waters too, because it's like, yeah, I Shell Smash, I don't bring that much, but honestly, Smash Toys is good. Like when it has its matchup, it has its matchup, and if you can play it perfectly, it can honestly become one of the most threatening sweepers in the whole game, especially when people are predicting more of a bulky set, like just with my playstyle and just with the way that I like to utilize Blastoise. So, probably won't bring Smash Toys that much, but just I have the option. I feel like just having that threat there is really good. So onto my 6th pick. At this point, only I'm going to check to make sure that I am talking about the right pick. As you guys can see, I'm very organized. As you can see, very organized. But we're good now. So after Blastoise, I started to realize the ground weakness in this team a lot more. Like, Hydra's not awful because it is a Levitate but I want a resistance. I want a like full-on immunity that's like a flying type. So I want a flying type. I need something to patch up the speed tier between Hydra and Cinderace because honestly, that's not very fun. The current matchup I have, I think like stuff like Mega Glade will get added versus me, and that's not something you ever want to see. So I think it still gets added versus me. Oh wait, started to think a bit more. But at least this Pokemon just kind of has to patch up the speed tier a bit. It wasn't the most ideal one to do that. I was originally looking at Galvantula because like webs weren't awful with my team, but they weren't necessarily good. They were just gonna be sitting here. But I don't like Galvantula, but I do kind of need the speed tier, and I do kind of need the electric type. But then I see this thing, which I draft way too much, but I just think the mod's good. That's gonna be Tornadus I Suck. Torn Eye is just, it's honestly a really interesting mod in my opinion. Like a lot of people kind of don't don't realize what this mod does because it's just its stats already are kind of weird. It's got for some reason it's got pretty high attack and pretty high special attack, pretty high speed, and its bulk is just like I think that's just the best thing to say about it. Its bulk kind of just But overall, I just feel like I like the mod because I feel like its big thing is that removal, that fast pivot, and just that also potential of sweeping. A lot of people don't really look at this thing's potential as a sweeper because it does get nasty plot and it has pretty good speed. Now this is relying on that you're gonna hit all your hurricanes, which probably isn't gonna happen. But at least you can blame it on hacks when you lose. And this isn't Torn trash. Torn T is cursed in this league, so I'm just avoiding that by getting the better Tornadus form. It all works out for me in the end, and it's just more removal as well. Removal is fun. I like that. Speaking of removal, I wanted more removal. I'm like, okay, I have 3 forms of removal. I need more, and you know, kind of this ground weakness is very big in this team. Why don't I just say ground? Why don't I just tell ground types off now? I got Sarina. Sarina is a very good mon. I'm actually realizing that 4 of the mons I have on this team, I had on my MDL and Fernip Cup team. It's kind of interesting actually. Sarina's interesting. I like this mod. Like just using it, it's fun mod. It's good removal, a good pivot. Getting triple axle is actually like pretty good because it allows it to kill flying types now. I don't think it's play rough, so it can still murder dragon types if it doesn't want to have to worry about triple axle missing, or doesn't want to have to worry about like Yachi bears, something like that. If there's like a very clear, like if there's like just a very clear to bring Yachi berry this matchup. It hits honestly pretty hard. 120 attack is pretty good. After a rapid spin, it can actually outspeed a lot of things and then start clicking power whip and absolutely annihilating things. I believe it does get knockoff as well, such as good utility for it, good pivot, good removal. It's got a lot going for it, like as just a solid grass type. It's the ground resist, which is really good. It does get synthesis, so this does still have recovery, but also it has its little tools as a low tier ground resist and a low tier removal mod. So I just feel like it has a lot that it can do on this team, which, yeah, I don't have a lot of removal on this team, but I feel like the more pressure I can take off of Hydra to run Defog, the more I can run stuff like Specs Hydra. The more pressure I can take off of Blastoise to run Rapid Spin, the more I can run stuff like Smash Toys. That's kind of just what this team is trying to do a bit more, while still being able to have the pivots to bring in Mega Mawile and let it do Mega Mawile things. So for my next pick, once again, ground weakness is gonna go bye-bye. I don't want to increase it. So why don't I just get another immunity? I got Electros. I love Electros. This thing's goated. So pretty much it gets Levitate. It's the only Pokemon in the game without any weaknesses. It does have it does because Excadrill exists, I guess. And like Sock. And yeah, if you have Mold Breaker, this thing quivers in fear. If you don't, it just laughs in your face. It's one of the only electric types that gets U-turn, which is really good in my opinion, because that still allows it to switch out on the ground types coming in. If a ground type comes in though, another funny thing it can do is this thing gets Super Fang. This thing's honestly just one of the most funny utility mods in my opinion. It's just got so much it can do with a pivot, as a knockoff user, even like weird offensive sets, chipping things down with Super Fang, like even like Toxic, T-Wave, Great Assault Vest user. Like it honestly has so much going for it, and I'm really enjoying just this thing as a whole on the team. Like just the utility I think it provides is really big for our team, and I think it's a really good electric type, which is good because I usually like a good electric type on my teams, and I feel like Electros kind of fits this perfectly. So for my next pick, yeah, that one, okay. So at this point in the draft, like I'm starting to miss a few things that teams kind of need. The first thing is there's a bit of a ghost weakness on the team. Because I wouldn't say weakness, I would really just say lack of resistance to ghost types on my team. Because Hydro is my only ghost resist, and like Gengar gets Dazzling, and most of them get like Focus Blast. So honestly, well, yes, normal types are, what types are thing, wait. Okay, ghost types are more so my 10th pick. I don't know why I started rambling about ghost types. It was normal types. Normal types were what I was making talk. As you can see, I'm clearly very organized. So normal types were a bit rough for my team because I have Mega Mawile to resist it. I don't really have anything else. So just a good normal type can honestly kind of tear through my team if it had coverage for Mega Mawile. That's kind of a no-no for me, so I picked up Runerigus. Honestly, I do really like Runerigus as like a low-tier ground type. Because also my team wasn't the greatest against electric types. Like, I would say like my team had Sarina and Electros, which can sponge electric hits pretty well. But like Eliki has a field day because they just Volt to keep momentum for their teams, keep chip on me until they can kill me with something else, or like even like Jolteon just toxics me, and then just slowly starts getting a lot of pressure on the team as a whole. What I like about Runerigus is just that it's honestly pretty bulky. Like I think its biggest thing is just that its HP is very low, while its defenses are like pretty high. It's a good Fizz Def mod. Poltergeist is a really powerful move, especially it only has 95 base attack, but Poltergeist still is pretty hard for me. It gets Stealth Rocks and it gets T-Spikes, which honestly T-Spikes is a pretty interesting thing to not have on a non-poison type Pokemon, because when you get that matchup where you can run T-Spikes, honestly it can do a lot in some matchups. It's not for every matchup, but honestly it really does have its times to shine. But that's just it's just a good rock setter, it's just a good ground type, just good normal immunity as a whole. I feel it's gonna work really well on this team. I loved using it when I used it, and I'm just glad to use it again. So for my next pick, back to that ghost thing I was talking about, I just increased it, didn't I? So I'm talking to my friends in call, and she points this out. Just this certain Pokemon fits on your team. It's a low tier Pokemon. And it's like a kind of like a meme. It's like kind of like a meme, I guess, in like the group because it's a bad Pokemon but a good Pokemon. That's Komala. Komala is interesting. Kamana's is a very interesting ability because it makes you like asleep but not asleep. So what happens if you have Kamana's, you can't be poisoned, which is honestly decent for a defensive mon like Komala is. Also, fun fact, Komala has higher attack than Komolo, and same attack status Entei. Let that sink in your brain for a bit. This thing gets a surprisingly good amount. It's just surprisingly good coverage. It gets a wish. It gets a wish. So like, it could be a wish passer. It has 65 base HP, but hey, you gotta pass those wishes to Renargus. Am I right? It's just I think it just has a lot of at least a lot of use on our teams for extra removal because you can never have too much removal, extra pivots because you can never have too much pivots, and just extra adorableness because you can never have too much adorableness. I love Komala. It's adorable. Now for my last pick, I originally wanted Guizing that got sniped earlier, so that was tragic because Guizing was pretty much the last thing I needed to make this team perfect. There was literally nothing in a 10 point to 9 point range. Like anything in like the range that I saw would work for me to have a feasible amount of points left. So I kind of just grabbed the useless mon on the team, so I won't spend too much time talking about why I grabbed it. That's Gardevoir. Like, I'm not gonna talk too much about why I grabbed this. I just figured, oh, Gardevoir can maybe come to a game or two. It could be a funny mon. It could just be like that really weird special defensive fairy for like literally no reason. I don't know. I just didn't know what else to get. So that's the team for the season. Hope you guys are excited for the season. We have seen that my upload schedule is a lot better now. So I'd imagine I can upload the whole season. I'm really excited. I love this team. I think that just everything just kind of just works in this team. Everything fits really well together. It fits my playstyle very well. Oh, and just I like the team. Like, not much else to say there. I hope you guys are indeed excited for the season. Let's see if we can try to get something done down in the pickle division. And I will see you guys in the next video.